Lights.
I
Contact.
was tempted by your smile. I was tempted, and for a little while I was certain that I will be the one to change you, and you will be mine. You will be mine. I was tempted by your eyes. I was tempted.
We're having a good time out here today. We're out in the middle of the tree line. Bunch of good targetry. They got all kinds of cool stuff out here. So I want to, first off, real quick, I want to thank Triple T Guns, Brandon here. Yeah. I appreciate you having us, man.
Yeah, man.
This is his spot, and we couldn't have done this without these guys. So plus we got all the ammo from him this morning, or this afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, man, we appreciate Kagan's support, and we're out here having a good time, man, spreading the Second Amendment love.
That's it. That's what it's all about. So I want to know, like, what's kind of y'all's backgrounds on stuff too. I'd like to know a little bit, like, do you have any school training? If you don't, or how much experience, because experience counts too, obviously, like how many years you've been working around this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I was security forces in the Air Force. I've been working with Brandon over at Triple T Guns for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And I think we spend at least 1 day a week. We come out and train. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
1 day a week. How long you guys been doing that 1 day a week thing for?
For the past couple years, and before that, I've been training with some other people and been doing that for at least 10 years.
Okay.
So
10 years. And I know, Brandon, you've been in this for how long now?
Yeah, so I bought, sold, and played with guns for quite some time. I probably got closer to 20 years in it, professionally 10.
Okay.
So I've been in FFL, started as a home base. We've got a shop now in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And we kind of cater toward that mid-level to higher-end firearm market is kind of where we're at.
Okay. And what's an average mid-level rifle you think would run?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. I'll give you an example. I mean, you can spend $600 or $6,000. You know, PSA, a lot of other companies, you know, do a really, really good job advertising and talking about various different guns, but they don't really go into what makes them the best or what makes them, you know, military grade and things like that. And that's our job as a consultative approach when you come into the shop to figure out about that. What makes this Daniel Defense a Daniel Defense? What makes that Geisley a Super Duty? You know, those different varying things.
I think a good mid-level, if we were going to pick one, I think one that I like to gravitate to because of the price point and the parts that are included in it is the Springfield St. Victor. You've got a flat nickel boron trigger. You have a lot of metal. You have a metal flip-up. You have 2 metal flip-up sights. You've got a nice stock. Right at that $10.99, $11.99 price point, which once you go from there, you're going to be hitting the $15.9, $16.9, all the way up to the Daniel Defense Geisley pricing.
What's a nickel boron trigger? Like, what's the yellow one right there?
That one right here is St. Victor right here.
Okay.
Perfect. So yeah, this is as far as metallurgy goes, this is a solid piece of nickel boron that is basically CNC'd out. And the difference between something like this and some of the less expensive rifles is the less expensive rifles, and these guys who are gunsmiths can speak to it, they're casted parts. So they're basically pressed and melted in. Same metal as like pot metal. And so having these higher quality parts like this will lend to the longevity. So I think if you take this, you know, a PSA, not hating on them, and then a Daniel Defense, out of the box, they're both going to shoot straight and they're going to shoot for a long time. But what the difference is going to be, how long is it going to last?
Yeah.
How high quality are the parts? And are you going to spend more over time replacing parts than if you would have just bought the rifle outright?
Okay. And so this is like they just put a little bit more energy into building that trigger. It's made of a different type of like alloy.
Right.
So it'll last longer. You're less likely to break it, less likely to have to replace it and things like that.
You got different metals, different treatments. So as you go up that course, you've got things like DLC, you've got nickel boron like they talked about, you've got titanium nitrate. So all these different finishes will help with heat reduction, friction, all these things that as you're firing a gun and that BCG is going back and forth and collecting that heat, you're making sure you're getting that longevity as he spoke about you know, through your gun.
Yeah.
this guy, he just has a lot of upgrades on it, but the core of it, which is a Palmetto State, this is going to be the one that we would
I'd say everything is pretty cheap.
Yeah, pretty inexpensive. He's got a knockoff. No, that's a Salient. Salient arms. Yep. And then he's got some Hollow Sun and some Palmetto. All things that somebody who's looking for a price point rifle, and you can see he has a nickel boron trigger as well in there, would be kind of oriented to. So definitely.
How much was this base platform?
To be completely honest, it was a holiday special from Palmetto State. They do a lot of the Memorial Day sales, this or that.
Okay.
It was more just a knock around range toy. I got buddies that don't shoot a lot.
Yeah.
They come out, they have something they can kind of play around with. And
How much was it?
maybe $1,000, maybe.
Okay.
For all in everything.
Oh, for everything?
Yeah.
What about just for the base
Just for the
by
rifle?
itself?
Oh, under $5.
Under 500?
Yeah, under $500.
Okay, so that's relatively inexpensive, especially for like somebody that doesn't really know much, but they're like not trying to spend a whole bunch of money. They might go to something like that potentially, you know, if they just walked into a store. Okay, and then which one is the higher end one that we got here? Cool. AR. This one right here?
Yeah.
And what kind of rifle is that?
It's a Daniel Defense M4A1.
Daniel Defense.
Yep.
That's a very well-known company. of
Very
course,
well known.
How much
is
was
this
the
one?
base? The base
This
for
was
that
$26.99, $25.99.
base without any optic, or did you get the buttstock custom or anything else with the rail system? Right?
No, it does come with the nice little grippies. This model did come with a Geisley trigger and ambidextrous bolt cache and release, and magazine.
Oh, an ambidextrous bolt release.
Yep.
Bolt cache, that's cool.
And so this is the same rifle right here. His is just a little bit more upgraded as far as the lower has that ambi, and then he does have that custom Cerakote job with a Geisley optic and 5017, 509, 5017.
That's called Cryptech. Is that right?
That is a Cryptech.
Cryptech is dope. I like that.
Yeah, it's not flashy, kind of dull. Man.
Okay.
I like it.
Well, let's do this real quick.
Look at these things very carefully. I mean, very carefully. Now look what I'm doing with it.
Sweating a little bit. Contact! Now, you said this one was how much again?
It was $25.99.
$25.99 base, right?
Base.
And so just one like let's point out some minutia about it. So what type of trigger is this, do you think?
I believe this was the mil-spec trigger that came with it from PSA.
Okay.
I'm sure they have, you know, their own, like, oh, this is our proprietary this or that, but it's nothing special.
Okay, and then what was this
This
trigger?
has got the Geisley. I'm not sure what.
I believe that does have an SSAE trigger in it. That one was a full build from Geisley, or excuse me, from Daniel Defense.
Okay.
So it came like that. That's why it had that $200 to $300 higher price mark than say this M4A1 that came at the $22.50 mark. And so that's, like I said, premium trigger.
Okay. Now what's kind of the difference, like if you guys had to pick, and it's for many of you guys, like if you had to pick like handling, like how what's the difference in handling between these two different
Something
rifles,
I've run into recently with your budget-friendly ARs is the takedown pins wouldn't match. So you'd pop in the front takedown pin, slide it down to pop in the rear takedown pin, so you have a complete rifle.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a quality control thing or what the issue was, but it was same manufacturer, and you would have had to hit it with a hammer to get it to seat.
I've seen those.
And then
For the takedown pin. Now, for those for people that don't know what a takedown pin is, do you mind pointing that out?
right
to-
here, and it's just so you can.
All right, I'm looking on my camera back down there. Can
See what I mean by fitment issues?
you hit record?
Yeah.
You can turn.
This one does have a.
So the takedown pin, you pull it out so that you can break the weapon down shotgun style, and you can open it up, remove the bolt, remove the bolt carrier group, remove the charging handle, and like have access to the chamber of the weapon when you're cleaning or doing maintenance or lubing it up, or any of that stuff. But so it's a little harder sometimes. It gets locked in there.
So this one, I actually have an adapter, folding adapter on there, so I can pull this little pin out. It was blocking it.
Okay.
This particular rifle does not have issues with the takedown, but I do have another budget-friendly rifle that you cannot even get the takedown pin to go in.
That's just one thing, and you have a takedown pin. Obviously, it's a little bit different than his.
And there's a lot of things that I've noticed too, like on the PSAs and IWIs. I know some people live and breathe by them, but if you go and like shake the upper and lower together, there's no sound.
There's no play
Because the machining on Daniel defenses is just unmatched.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so you can
A little bit of play on it. Yeah. Okay. So that's like kind of an indicator because it's not machined as precisely, maybe.
I think the tolerance is just one of the things that adds to the price point.
Okay.
You have a rifle that's, a higher price point, and you can't rattle that and shake it like you can this. I mean, I'm not putting any force into this.
Yeah, and I think what a lot's gonna happen. So on the internet, they're already gonna say it. I can already see it. I shoot just as good with my PSA as someone who's shooting with these $2,600 rifles.
Yeah.
There really is not, again, out of the box, a difference in your accuracy and things like that. But what you do have is the longevity, the parts that are made with it. You're going to be having to replace things. Your handguard might be cheaper. A handguard like this M4A1 won't transfer the heat as fast, free-floating. So you're not going to have to worry about your hand literally heating up and being too hot to hold the weapon.
Yeah.
So again, if you have a rifle, we're not the gatekeeper. I think everybody who is an American should be able to, whatever budget range you can fit, go get a rifle. But just like if you had a certain car, like a Toyota Camry, you wouldn't sit there and say that this BMW that's $100,000 is just as good as my Camry.
They both can drive.
Exactly.
They can both get you from point A to point B, and probably in a relatively same amount of time, but one's going to cost a lot more because it's made with different parts, it's manufactured differently, it's machined differently.
Yeah.
It's probably, maybe the manufacturers have been perfecting the craft for that specific type of vehicle for a longer period of time or whatever. Like if you're going from I don't know, a Hyundai or a Kia, and then you've got over here, you've got like a Lexus. There's going to be some differences.
Right.
They may still be able to do the same thing, but the longevity of them might be different.
Right.
I would say probably the biggest thing that I look into with a rifle is the barrel.
Barrel?
The Daniel Defense is cold hammer forged.
Cold hammer forged. Now, what does that mean?
I think just super strong. I mean,
Yeah,
I think they're the only people in the United States that do it.
When I
Again,
hear
there's-
that, I think of a hammer that's cold, and they're banging a piece of metal with a cold hammer. But that's probably not even close.
You're
getting close. Yeah. You are close.
Is it really?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in our 2A community, you get this rifle to have fun, right? But you also get this rifle deep down because if something were to ever happen in this world, you want to be able to protect your family over a long period of time. So say you can't go on Amazon, you can't go to any of the websites, you can't go to a gun store, they're all closed down. Do you want to have to worry about the parts only lasting 200, 300, 500 rounds, which most people, and again, I don't blame them for those budget rifles, but a lot of them that have gotten some of the budget rifles have never had the opportunity to purchase or train with those higher end rifles where you're gonna see that higher performance. So if you've never driven a Ferrari, you would never know the sensation or the recoil impulse of the similarity of the rifle. So
Or how it drives,
exactly.
Now,
that's good.
going back with the receivers, kind of have that movement playing especially on your lower end rifles. Now they do make, if anybody wants to still have that, in that budget, that lower range budget, if they want to get something around this price range, and they don't like that shaking, there's a little piece. It's like can't remember who makes it, but it's a little like plastic piece that you put in here, right in here. And it kind of helps stop that shaking and kind of makes it a little bit tighter.
Because the jiggle is from this movement between that.
pins.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
What is this piece right here called?
To be honest, I can't remember, but
I don't think I've ever asked anyone.
yeah,
that before,
can't exactly. Never really been asked that either. But this is where the takedown pin actually goes through and locks it in.
A tang?
I think that's what it's called.
Like the old orange juice commercials. Tang. It's a kick in the glass.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But
Feeling tangy.
Yeah.
I bought one of those little plastic pieces for my lower end rifle that's at the house.
Okay.
And the only problem I had with it is that you have to really fit it in there.
Okay.
Because the takedown pin, what I realized is that it gets caught on it, so you have to do like some custom fitting with it.
You got to do some scraping.
Yeah, some scraping on that little plastic piece, but it will help with those lower end rifles that have that little shake in there.
Yeah, probably get that out if that's something that you care about.
If that's something that they want, and if they can't go, spend a few $1,000s on, a Daniel Defense or something, they want to go, on a little lower end. So that's something that they can look into as well.
Okay, I think that explains. So those a few things do explain. Like, I've learned something from this. I'm sure somebody else has probably from watching. I didn't ever look at firearms in the way it's like automobiles, and like we were talking about when I came to the shop that one time. It's like you look at the difference between a Cadillac Escalade and a Kia Sorento is the way that they build the vehicles are going to be different. One of them is going to last a little bit longer. One of them is going to have better quality parts, or anything that's got Mercedes parts in it. Everyone's like, that's like the bee's knees or whatever, because it's like their parts are made to last forever. That's why all the tractor trailer trucks over in Europe are made from Mercedes. They got Mercedes emblems on the front of it and stuff like that, because they're supposed to last forever.
I was gonna say, and I think a big point we need to just put out there is we're not being elitists about rifles. We want you to get a rifle. If it is in your budget to get a PSA or an Anderson or something like that, that's fine. But when you're talking about the difference between life and death, and your family's, the value of your family in a dollar amount, $400 to $600, somewhere along those lines higher, is worth every single penny to have something you can trust with your life.
Absolutely.
If you got the money to buy a lower-end rifle, go buy it, go train, and do your thing. But when it comes down to it, save up $100 a month. In 6 months, you can go and get a nice rifle, trade that one in, etc., sell it to your buddy, whatever.
So maybe like a starter rifle, if they've never bought one before and they don't have a lot of money, they could maybe start with a lower end one and use that for a little while and then save up. Kind of learn how to use a rifle if they've never had any firearms experience before. That's probably a good alert, like having training wheels on.
Every one of us have done that. I say this all the time.
I did the same thing. Like I didn't buy like a super high. The ones I have now are definitely the best ones I've ever owned.
I guarantee every gun guy watching this has a cardboard box in their garage or in their shop that's filled with parts they'll never use again. That they upgraded that are just sitting there.
Oxygen. I think the other thing too, guys, is safety. So I don't really hear a lot of people on the internet talking about safety. So we won't go into specifics, but being in the business as long as we have and dealing with customers from all facets, whether it's military, civilian, we've had some guys make some errors that could have been fatal. All right, so they loaded a 300 blackout round and a 223-556 rifle. You may think, oh, you're an idiot. Guys, it can happen very, very easily. A box slips out of your hand, goes into a bucket, whatever the case may be. When it comes to the structural rigidity of your firearm, if God forbid you were to shoot it, it does actually, fire. You don't have to worry about casted parts getting cascaded into your neck, your arms, whatever. So those are all huge things. We had it happen to a gentleman. Luckily, he was okay. It just blew out his magazine, but a lot of it was because he was using a mid-level to higher end weapon where they were forged parts. So it did blast. You had a blast radius from it, but it did not crack and shard and splinter everywhere. That could have been real bad.
Yeah, if it had been made of cheaper parts, that was not
casted
forged.
parts would have been really bad. It could have been fatal.
Yeah.
Now, to kind of bounce off of that, it's just, just like everything, metal and metal contact is going to wear. So as many rounds as you keep putting down through your rifle, eventually you're going to have to replace some of those internal metal parts because that, the metal is going to shave and shave and shave, and it could cause some serious damage to you or the people around you.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, this stuff wears down. It's like the sear on the M240 or the 50 or any of these weapons. Like the sear gets worn down from getting used so much, and I imagine that everything else that is in there that has any type of friction on it in any way is gonna wear eventually. So maybe you want something that wears down slower.
Too proper lubrication on metal. You want that metal contact. You want that nice and lubricated, not too excessive because that can also do some damage. Not too little. Same thing.
Yeah, finding that fine line. I think that's the tough part, is learning what's enough, what's not too much, what's not going to gunk my crap up, but what's the right amount,
And that's about 100% worth. I mean, firearms, you just learn.
Yeah.
Research the crap out of everything that has to do with rifles. Research about Daniel Defense, research about Springfield.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're going to learn what that gun has that this one might not. I mean, you never know, and that might fit your description of what you want to do.
Yeah.
For a home defense gun, that's a perfect gun. But I mean, if something were to ever happen, I know I've got reliable here.
I say it all the time in the shop. I say, people ask our opinion on what gun to get, etc. And I say there's 40 manufacturers in here or more, and they're all selling guns every day. And what fits for me might not fit for you.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, like, because a lot of folks, like, especially first-time buyers that have never bought a firearm before, they're not going to know what the hell to even ask, you know, let alone, like, which one should I walk out of the store with, you know? So it's like, that's the key, is if you're interested in doing this kind of stuff or interested in it, it's important to, like, at least look into it a little bit. Like, I know very little probably compared to a lot of you guys, because you've been doing this for a lot longer and you guys are like getting school trained for it. But I'm always willing to learn more, and you gotta stay hungry for that kind of stuff, because that's how you get better. That's how you get more proficient. That's how you can share that knowledge with other people that may not know, and then you can help them become better and more proficient as well, you know, which is why I think this is such an important thing to talk about, especially when it comes to people buying firearms, because this is like there's a reason it's the Second Amendment for a reason, you know. That's pretty important, like the first one being, you know, freedom of speech, right? So I think it's important that people learn about this stuff that is, you know, a God-given right that we have here.
Yeah,
so.
if you're gonna be saying whatever you want, you better be able to have a gun.
Yeah, and understand like how it works, and like what the parts do, and like how, you know, how you can maintain it and all that stuff, you know, because obviously that's a big part of it, you know. So anyway, you guys want to shoot some of these and see like kind of like what the difference is between shooting them?
Absolutely.
Just like mess around a little bit, try them out. All right, so hopefully the main point of this whole thing that I'm hoping everyone got out of this today is that there's tons of different types of guns out there. They all have different varying, you know, attachments. They have all varying different like setups. There's like some are ambidextrous, some are not ambidextrous. Some of them have, you know, cold hammer forged barrels, and some of them don't have cold hammer forged barrels. Really, the key is finding a good gun store that is willing to talk you through it and willing to take a consultative approach so that they can find what fits best for you based on what you have going on in your life, whether you be a left-handed shooter, right-handed shooter, if you've got the money to spend, if you don't got the money to spend, if you're just looking to plinks and targets once a month or once every couple months, or if you're trying to like really invest in something that has a lot of longevity to it. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like, hey, you should only buy a $2,000 rifle. I want you to have access to this stuff, because that's part of being an American, part of like being able to celebrate the Second Amendment and exercising your right. But there's going to be a lot of differences, and as long as you can find people that are willing to work with you and willing to talk you through it and find what works best for you, I think that's going to be the best way to do it. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind, and remember, it's like look at it like we talked about earlier, where it's like buying a car. You know, there's a difference between buying a Honda Accord and buying a Mercedes, whatever the hell, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I want to, again, was there any last thoughts you want to put out there?
No, I think Kagan said it best, guys, is, you know, lend on your local gun shop. You know, I do your research on the gun shops that you do business with. Yeah. So whether it's looking at Google reviews, whatever, getting people's feedback, if your consultant that goes in, or your gun shop owner, whoever you're dealing with, does not ask you a bunch of questions about how you're going to use the gun, what kind of distances you're shooting from, all those different things, you probably want to walk out in front of another shop. If you're looking somewhere to spend $2,000, make sure it's the right place and make sure that you're spending that $2,000 properly. That's the huge piece. We can build you a Gucci gun, but what is important to you is what matters.
Yeah. And I want to thank you guys again for having us out to your range and letting us, you know, use the great property and all the targetry and everything. It's been awesome. This is a super dope spot in the middle of the tree line. So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed this, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.
Like.